Hi there, I'm Janine, and this is Janine Sews. If this is the first time you've watched my channel, welcome. If you're a returning viewer, thank you so much for coming back. It's good to see you. This is Friday Sews for Friday, February 23rd, 2024. In this video, I'm going to show you a quick little make from the past week or so. But before that, I want to talk about a project that is currently underway in which I have made a number of really stupid mistakes. I'm sharing this with you today for two reasons. First, to let you know if you make sewing mistakes, you are certainly not alone. Secondly, to remind myself to not make these mistakes again. We are at the time of year here in Alberta where it's starting to look like spring. The days are bright and certainly longer, but we could have another 3 months of freezing weather, especially at night. So we're thinking about spring sewing, but we can't commit to sewing shorts and tank tops because we've probably got many more weeks of long sleeves and layers. So that's what I've been thinking about and working on. In December, I picked up 3 pieces of fabric from e11 Fabrics here in Calgary, a denim and a cotton jersey, both in winter white, because that's one of the neutrals that I'm going to try this season. And then I also bought a piece of soft shell fabric. I've never used soft shell fabric before. I've seen it a few times online. I have no experience with it. But the print was so pretty, and I thought this would be perfect for this time of year where you need something a little bit warm, but you don't want anything heavy. And it's also nice to have bright colors and a change from dark winter colors. So this is the soft shell I bought. Fortunately, it's sold out at e11. I don't know where else you can get it. If you don't know what soft shell is, it's 100% polyester, at least this one is. The exterior is a woven and it's a digital print. And that is laminated to fleece. So it's cozy and warm on the inside, but on the outside it's to a certain extent water resistant, and it certainly blocks the wind. I thought this would be perfect for a spring vest, something that I could wear over long sleeve tops. But if the day warms up, you can open it up and you're not going to be cooking. So I bought this fabric, came home, and knew immediately I wanted to make a vest. I made a vest last spring, and I could have taken the easy way out and used the same vest pattern. I don't know why I didn't. Probably because I just wanted to try a new pattern. I had recently picked up the Cashmerette Club Murcot Vest, and I thought, I'll use that vest pattern. That's so cute. It's got princess seams and welt pockets. I want to learn more about sewing welt pockets. So I had the pattern printed up at the copy shop and set that aside, and I've been waiting for the right time to sew it. Since I'm procrastinating on my French jacket still, about 10 days ago, I decided to start working on this project. The Murcot Vest is a puffer vest. So you sew it with an exterior layer, batting, and a lining. I didn't think there would be any difficulties just sewing an unlined vest. And of course, it's usually really easy to turn something that's lined into something unlined, just kind of finish the seams. So I thought this would be fine for the interior and this for the exterior, no worries. I cut out the pattern and I cut out the fabric. In the back of my mind, I knew that there was additional ease in the Murcot vest because it was designed to be a puffer vest, and it's going to have a lot of loft around your body. I told myself that it was probably better to have it too big than too small, which is true. So I just went with my usual Cashmerette size. immediately started sewing it, and the first seam that was sewn was the princess seam in the front. This is the vest. It's half done. It's not done yet. This is the princess seam here. Now this fabric doesn't drape at all. It's pretty springy. So I sewed the princess seam, except it was really big because it was designed to be a puffer vest. So the bust was out about 2.5 inches, and then it was just voluminous. So I unpicked those stitches, and I don't think you're supposed to really unpick stitches in this fabric. I cut it down and I fixed those. First problem averted. Could have been solved if I had chosen a different pattern. If I'd chosen a vest pattern I'd already worked with. I continued on. The next step was to sew the welt pockets. And here is the biggest mistake that I made on this project. As I said, I sent the pattern out to a copy shop to be printed. Had it printed in A0 size. But because I am A, cheap, and B, lazy, I didn't have the pattern instructions printed. I could have paid for them to be printed, or I could have printed them on our printer, but I'm too lazy to use the printer because it might mean that I run out of toner. There, I've admitted it to all of you. That's the height of laziness. Instead, I thought I could just read the instructions on my iPhone or my iPad. So went along, did the first welt pocket. Followed, I thought everything was working well. I had problems stitching the welt pocket. I was sewing the many layers together before I turned it inside out, and I was getting all kinds of skip stitches. So I went out to Instagram last Saturday night and I did a hashtag sewing SOS. If you're on Instagram and you ever have problems with a project, use hashtag sewing SOS, and chances are really good a number of people who have excellent knowledge will help you. And I had a bunch of responses very quickly. And there were many suggestions to use a larger needle. As I said, I've never worked with this kind of fabric. I did look up what type of needle to use, and a couple of people suggested a Microtech needle, so that's what I was using. But people said, use a larger needle, number one, and number two, increase the presser foot pressure. I was using the walking foot, so I didn't try that one right away. But I did change to a size 14 needle. That was the charm. That worked just fine. So I continued sewing the welt pocket, glancing at my phone to read the instructions. And then I turned the pocket inside out, and it was totally backward, and I'd already cut the fabric. I set the project aside for a few days. Went and worked on this other small project I'll tell you about in a minute. Then on Wednesday, I pulled it out, started unpicking the welt pocket, and messed around with that a bit. Got to a pretty good place on that. The welt pocket is pretty much in only one of them. I haven't touched the other one. I just have to do the hand stitching on the edge of the welt there. So I spent a couple of hours sorting that out. Then yesterday morning on Thursday, I got up early and said, I'm just going to power through as much as I can on this project. So I added the back facing, which was something I added to the project. I just put a back facing in there. And I did the collar, basted the collar on, it worked fine. And instead of using poppers or snaps, which is the suggestion for the project, I don't have a lining, so I'd have to create a facing for that. I decided I would use a zipper. Went through my zippers and I found one that was just a nice color, very close to this oyster background of this fabric. Very carefully pinned in the zipper stitched one side. I broke only one needle doing that, took my time, got the one side of the zipper in, started pinning the other side and went to open the zipper. And I used a closed end zipper. So I unpicked that and I set it down. I'm probably going to have to order a zipper for it because I haven't been able to find one here in town. But this is going into my work in progress file. It's not a water, it's going into the work in progress file until I can get a zipper. I'm hoping I get one soon because I want to wear it. I actually made a list of the mistakes that I've made on this so far. The first one, actually I've called the list Dumbass Moves. I picked the wrong size because it's sized for multiple layers. I didn't print the instructions. I used the wrong needles. I picked a difficult fabric and a relatively complex pattern with the welt pockets. And I sewed in a non-separating zipper. If you ever feel badly about yourself because you've made a sewing mistake, bookmark this video and look back and hear about all the dumb things I did just on this one project. I am going to finish it. I don't like waters and I don't like leaving work in progress. And right now I have 2 in addition to this, and that really bothers me. So I am going to finish it. I want to have it for spring. It's not going to be perfect, but it's going to be wearable and it'll be pretty. I am wearing something that was previously made today. This is New Look 6638 and I made this top quite a while ago. I've used this pattern a couple of times. I don't think I talked about it in a video, but if I did, I'll link it up top. This is an on-pier waist knit tunic and it has dolman sleeves. And it's got gathering and a tie at the front, and then it's got a back yoke with some gathering, and it's got slits at the side, so it's got lots of room. What I like about this is a knit top that's not a t-shirt and it has some shaping. It's quite forgiving. This fabric is a jersey I got at the old Sew Over It store in the before times. This pattern is in my TNT box because it's one I'll use again. Now I said I did sew something, and what I made is something that is very seasonal also. It's a print fabric. I know I said I wasn't going to sew prints, but I already have this. And I actually found this fabric last year when we were working on frock tails and I was discovering different sewing businesses here in town. And there's a company called Kenilworth Fabrics that does digital prints and custom prints. But she does have fabric in stock, and she had this, and I bought this because I knew it'd be perfect for spring. This is a cotton lycra that is baby goats. How cute is that for spring? And I thought it'd be just a fun t-shirt to have to wear around home. So I bought this last year and knew I'd better sew it up this spring before the days get too warm or before I get past Easter and people will be wondering why I'm wearing spring print baby goat t-shirts. I decided to use the Cashmerette Concord pattern again. And I made a t-shirt out of this, used the pattern the first time and showed it in my last video. Last time I used, this is the t-shirt, I used this very nice heathered jersey that has a lot of stretch. This time I used this cotton lycra, which is a little bit heavier. It just doesn't stretch the same way. So when I cut out the Concord T, I added a smidge to the sides just to add a bit more ease to make up for the fabric that doesn't stretch quite as much. And I decided to sew long sleeves. I got to, it's a super simple pattern. I got to the point where I was going to do the neckband, and I remembered a tip that Izzy from Dizzy Quilts and Sews shared with me when I talked about the neck band on this version, where I felt like it was pulling a little bit here in the front. You see that? And she said that she doesn't use the notches that are marked on the pattern. She just sews the neck opening. She marks the neck opening quarters and does the same thing for the neckband. I had to add 2 inches in length to the neckband so that it wasn't going to pull too much. So I did that, and then I followed Izzy's tips, and the neckband went in just fine. I also took 1.25 inches off the length of this because I like things a little bit shorter so they're not hanging down over my hips. I like them so that they kind of show where I have a little bit of shape at the end. And then I wound up adding 1 inch in length to the sleeves. I have found that cashmerette sleeves are often short on me. I don't think my arms are especially long, but I always seem to have to lengthen cashmerette sleeves. It's just something, if you've got arms that are longer, or if you don't want your wrists to be cold, maybe double check the length of the sleeves on cashmerette patterns. I sewed it up. I think next time I use this pattern, I might size up because I would just like a little bit more ease. Could be it's partially this fabric, but it fits, which is fine, but I would like a little more ease. And it's a cute print. It's a fun thing that I'm going to wear, you know, this winter. The fabric is relatively heavy, so it's going to be quite warm. I won't want to wear this on a hot day. That's my one make. In terms of life over the past couple of weeks, because I didn't have Friday sews last week, on Super Bowl Sunday, 3 of us drove up to Olds, which is north of Calgary. There used to be a fashion design program at the school there, and one of the instructors from that program has basically a high-end fabric store in her house. She has amazing fabrics that you would normally never find in stores because they're high-end fancy fabrics. So it was really fun to see what she has. A lot of the things are much dressier and fancier than I would ever wear. I really don't want a lot of dry clean only fabrics, but I did bring home some fabric, and in the future I'll show you what I'm planning to do with it. Not quite sure what things will be used for, but I definitely want to use them. I don't want things to sit on the shelf. Then let's see. We had a long weekend last weekend. I know it was President's Day in the States. Here in Alberta, it was Family Day weekend. Several provinces have holidays on the 3rd Monday of February. It's Family Day here, different names in different parts of the country. We went to the Calgary Flames game, and after a rough start, they won. I'm a big hockey fan, so I love going to games when we can. And because we won, I figured that I'm a good luck charm, and I should get to go more frequently. But otherwise, that's about all that's going on. It's been kind of quiet, and I'm trying to be better organized and make better use of my time now that I haven't been working for several months. There's no question this week for Friday sews. Jen, I think, is very busy. Jen of Today in Jen's Sewing Room, I think she's very busy. So no question. My question for you is, how do you make the most of your time, especially if you're not working? I seem to get a lot more done when I was working for some reason. But that's my question for you. How do you make the most of your time so you can sew a lot? Thank you for watching. I hope you have a great weekend and a wonderful week, and I will see you soon.